Okay, all right. Well, certainly the last 24 hours have been basically taken over by a report from the Wall Street Journal, which we at AL.com spent quite a long time rummaging through and going through various different paper trails and document trails, speaking with all the various sources. Brandon, you spoke with a lot of people. You spoke with the Dean of Arts and Science, or Liberal Arts, here at Auburn University. You spoke with people who were on the record in the Wall Street Journal story. What basically was the sum of all that? Because there was a lot there. Just run that down for us of all the various things that we've went through in the last 24 hours there.
You know, not a lot of comments from the academic side about the athletics department, whether it kind of either it overstepped its bounds or was involved in the process of trying to save the public administration program. What I did get clarity on is from a former department head in the political science department, which underneath that is a public administration. He says that that committee that voted to quote-unquote kill the public administration's major didn't actually vote to kill it. It voted to suspend it for a few years, which needed to be reviewed by the dean. But at that point, the dean, there wasn't a dean. They were hiring a new dean, so they had to wait till the new dean got on campus in September. He reviewed the situation, talked to the provost, talked to the department head, and said, listen, what do you need from me? And he said the number one issue as to why public administration was possibly going to be suspended was because there weren't enough resources. Faculty, staff, people's plates were too full, and the new dean came in from Kansas State and said, well, I'll get that for you. So the dean reversed the decision, and they kept the public administration department alive. One of the people quoted in the story, the former department head, as I mentioned, kind of took issue with the way his quote was used in the Wall Street Journal story, in which he said it's incomprehensible, in reaction, apparently in the story, to being alerted that Auburn's athletics department offered to pay money to keep the program alive, to subsidize it. He said he was not even aware of it. He had no idea about that happening. He said his words were maybe misused a little bit. Long story short, I'm talking at length here, but
it's a thorough thing. I mean, this is a very nuanced deal.
The academic side believes that their department is clean. They don't believe there's any academic dishonesty going on. And in fact, the dean told me today he has no concern about that department being filled with student athletes. Instead, he says, we conducted a thorough examination during this process, and we found no grade problems or dishonesty. So that's where they stand on the academic side right now, James.
Yeah, and there was a lot there to go through, certainly, and you went through and speaking with a lot of folks. The big question still remains, did the athletic, why did the athletic department offer, the offer was turned down, but why did they offer in the first place to subsidize this? Because that is an unusual step. That has a very odd appearance to it. And Wes, you spoke with a NCAA compliance expert to that end to say, all right, let's go down that rabbit hole a little bit. What does this all mean? What could the long run, what could the implications of this be? And he didn't have definitive answers, certainly, because we don't have, none of us have definitive answers yet, because we haven't spoken with a lot of people who are willing to speak with us from the athletics department, but he gave some insight into what it could be.
Well, yeah, I mean, he said that it could be an NCAA issue, but for right now, there's just more questions than answers. You know, it's definitely an accreditation issue right now, but you know, his main question was, you know, did the athletic department kind of overstep its boundaries and kind of involving themselves with academics, and you know, that's basically what he was saying, and that was his main question. And that would certainly be a chief issue and something that SACS would be looking into. Right. And again, for those who have recollection of SACS putting Auburn on probation about 11 or 12 years ago due to the board's kind of overstepping its bounds into the day-to-day operations of certain things. So there is a history there. Additionally, with all of this, again, there's still the questions of exactly why did the athletic department offer to do that. There is a very high number of athletes in that major. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong. That's very commonplace, frankly, in college athletics, that there's always that major or that one or two majors, and pretty much every major power conference school has that. And the story really didn't imply a lot of improprieties until it brought up the North Carolina situation, which there was a lot more to that is not here. Yeah. And that is not alleged here in any way. The biggest issue is
why did athletics offer to do this? And that question still remains. Now, there was some internal documents that we reviewed as well within the public administration and political science realm, only going back to last year, showing that ultimately, bottom line is, folks were internally in the department were not terribly happy with the caliber of writing that they were seeing from students majoring in public administration, and that they had conducted an internal survey of students majoring in that department and got very low response. We're not satisfied with that, and we're not satisfied with the few responses that they did get. So there is a lot there as well of questioning exactly what's going on within that. Not to say that there's improprieties, but to say that what exactly is going on with the caliber that's going on. They're clearly not satisfied with it internally. They're reviewing it. So a lot of gears are in motion here. Doesn't mean that there's any improprieties, doesn't mean that SACS is going to take action or not. They only meet twice a year. They're a very slow-moving body, as we know. So there's a lot to go through still, but there are still more questions than answers. We'll still be looking into it, but at the moment, will it have an impact in the next week, 2 weeks, 3 months, 4 months? Certainly does not appear to be that way in any way, shape, or form, or any impact on this season. So we'll continue to hopefully have a little bit more follow-up on this, but at this point, it very well we may have really turned over every rock we can here at AL.com on this particular story. So we'll keep you up to date with the latest on that, but for now, that's all we've got.